by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
A shooting at a popular country bar in the Los Angeles area sends 11 to the hospital, ends with the shooter dying. We'll have the latest in that.
And we have the latest from Montana's hotly contested U.S. Senate race. We'll hear from both sides.
Good morning. Just ahead of 6:30 on this Thursday, Chet Lehman, Missy O'Malley with you. Matt has our forecast, some advice for you if you're heading out there today. You're going to want to join us for that. But right now, our top story this half hour, at least 12 people, including at least one deputy, have reportedly been injured in a shooting at a Southern California bar.
Police are saying there are multiple fatalities. CBS's Chris Martinez is in Thousand Oaks, California with our latest.
A shooter overnight opened fire inside a crowded Southern California bar filled with college students.
The shots kept going and going and going. We just heard people say run, and we booked it as fast as we could.
Police say deputies responded to a shots fired call at the Borderline Bar and Grill in Thousand Oaks, just west of Los Angeles.
There is no threat to the general public outside the bar and grill.
People can be seen carrying one victim to an ambulance. Others help paramedics with the injured. Jordan Carr spoke to his friend who was inside the bar.
Shooter came in, started shooting off shots. They did whatever they could to get out, broke some windows, got out, got all their friends out. He said his friend Tim was hit through the shoulder.
According to the bar's website, a college country night was being held at the time of the shooting.
All of a sudden, everyone screamed, "Get down." So everyone on the dance floor ran off the dance floor and ducked behind something or dogpiled on the floor somewhere.
Police say they believe there may have been more than 100 people inside at the time. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Thousand Oaks, California.
Now, though this was an active scene throughout much of the early morning, police are now confirming that the shooter is dead, along with 13 total now.
Including a sheriff's deputy, a 29-year veteran of the Ventura County Sheriff's Office, 50-year-old man, one of the first in the scene, was shot and killed in that. We'll have more coming up at 7 o'clock, live, up-to-date information from Thousand Oaks, California on CBS this morning.
Yep. Just devastating.
Absolutely.
The roads are a little devastating out there right now, too.
Holy cow,
yeah.
Winter.
Yep.
Let's start it.
Yep, and it's on.
A lot of this has to do with the frigid temperatures. Of course, yesterday we were dealing with snow. The temperatures plummeted. Then we had a layer of ice. Then we had snow. And then we had people sliding all over the place. Don't be surprised to see a similar situation this morning with people sliding around on the area roadways. Bottom line, go slow. I like to tell people to pretend like there's a hot cup of coffee between your legs.
Yes.
If you have to make sudden moves, you're going to burn yourself.
Yeah.
So we don't want anybody to get injured out there. Temperatures remain very frigid across most of the area. 2 below this morning in West Yellowstone. That's down 2 degrees from the 0 that we had at the top of the hour. Temperature-wise, we'll continue to be on the cold side today. You may have some fog or some light snow early, but the afternoon should be sunny. We'll talk more about what you can expect coming up in a few minutes.
I'm going to say it again. Take it slow so we keep you as a viewer, not a topic here on Montana
topic.
This morning. It's just not worth it if you're going to hurry out there. We're going to shift gears just a little bit. Montana's high-profile youth Senate race wasn't called until late yesterday morning. Democrat incumbent Jon Tester was the winner, re-elected to his 3rd term.
And MTN's Mike Dennison was with Senator Tester in Great Falls all through Election Day and has our report.
Just before 11 a.m. on Wednesday, Senator Jon Tester appeared before a rowdy crowd of exhausted supporters and told them the good news.
Look, we did it.
The Associated Press had just called the race in Tester's favor, giving him a hard-fought victory over Republican Matt Rosendale and Libertarian Rick Breckenridge. Just like in his 2 previous victories in 2006 and 2012, it wasn't called until the day after Election Day, and he won with less than 50% of the vote, about 49.6% to be precise, over Rosendale's 47.5%, a 10,000 vote margin by late Wednesday. Rosendale took the lead briefly early Wednesday morning, but a rash of late counted votes from Democratic strongholds like Missoula and Bozeman put Tester over the top. In comments Wednesday, Tester said it was a tough race, but that now it's time to tone down the political differences.
We need to get some things done in Washington, D.C. We need to work together. We need to put aside the political pettiness and work together to get things done. And I will tell you why. Because if I has traversed this state, north, south, east, and west, The people I've talked to, the biggest issue they bring up is, why can't you guys work together? Well, we can, and we will. And it will happen because the American people are demanding it.
Tester said tops on his agenda are fixing problems with health care, rural broadband access, and care for veterans. He also noted that President Trump came here 4 times to campaign against him, but that he'd like the president to come back again and take a good look at the problems facing the state that need to be fixed.
As I walk around, you know, there's Democrats, there's Republicans, Libertarians. We agree on a heck of a lot more than we disagree on. So find the areas you agree on and work on them.
This race had a lot of firsts for Montana, from 4 presidential visits to $60 million in campaign spending. But in the end, Tester's victory looked a lot like his first 2, eking out a victory with a great on-the-ground effort, some last-day voting, and the strength of his own personality. Reporting from Great Falls, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Senator Tester will still be in the Democratic minority as Republicans increase their majority in the U.S. Senate on Election Day.
Now, meanwhile, MTN's Jonathan Ambarian has a statement from the Rosendale campaign.
We're here at the Delta Colonial Hotel in Helena, where Matt Rosendale had his campaign headquarters last night. We haven't heard directly from the state insurance commissioner today, but just after 11:30 this morning, we did receive a statement from his campaign in which he confirmed he was conceding the race to Senator Jon Tester. He said he had spoken to Senator Tester, that he congratulated him and wished him well. He also thanked his family and all of his supporters and volunteers that have worked on his campaign. And he said that despite the loss, his work for the people of Montana isn't done. He said he's going to continue to advocate for lower health care costs and more health care options in his position as state auditor. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
Staying in politics for a moment, Jeff Sessions has resigned as Attorney General after he says President Trump asked him to step down, effectively firing him.
Now, he was one of Trump's earliest supporters. CNN's Laura Jarrett has more.
At President Trump's request, Jeff Sessions is out as Attorney General, submitting his resignation letter to the president. Quote, "I have been honored to serve as Attorney General and have worked to implement the law enforcement agenda based on the rule of law," wrote Sessions. Trump has made no secret of his disdain for his Attorney General.
I'm disappointed in the Attorney General for numerous reasons, but we have an Attorney General. I'm disappointed in the Attorney General for many reasons, and you understand that. Come here, Jeff.
The long-expected departure of one of President Trump's earliest supporters, Attorney General Jeff Sessions, coming after months of blistering attacks.
I said on the Department of Justice I would stay uninvolved. Now, I may get involved at some point if it gets worse.
At one low point, Trump even going so far as to declare, quote, "I don't have an Attorney General."
It's good to be with you.
All because Sessions stepped aside from overseeing the Russia investigation, something that overshadowed nearly all of his 20 months at the Justice Department.
He took the job, and then he said, "I'm going to recuse myself." I said, "What kind of a man is this?"
And despite all the tweets and withering critiques from his boss,
I put an Attorney General that never took control of the Justice Department, Jeff Sessions, never took control of the Justice Department, and it's a sort of an incredible thing.
Sessions rarely pushed back.
The president speaks his mind. He says what's on his mind at the time, and he's been frustrated about my recusal and other matters, but we have been so pleased and honored to be given the responsibility to execute his agenda at the Department of Justice. Part of that is just this kind of case, and so I am pleased and honored to have that responsibility, and will do so as long as it's appropriate for me to do so.
Picking his moments carefully and vowing in August that the Justice Department will not be improperly influenced by political considerations. Publicly, he advanced the president's most controversial immigration policies. Privately, a source close to Sessions tells CNN he too has been frustrated that Mueller's investigation is not yet completed. And the Attorney General hopes he will be remembered for never undermining the integrity of the department. With Sessions now gone, his chief of staff, Matt Whitaker, will take over the department in the interim. Whitaker, a former U.S. attorney from Iowa and former CNN contributor, has served as Sessions' right-hand man since September 2017. But with Sessions now gone, the question is, who will replace him? Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has reportedly been asked about the job and has repeatedly said he's not interested. Others said to be in the running include former federal prosecutor and current Republican Congressman John Radcliffe, Boeing General Counsel Michael Luttig, and others potentially in the mix are federal appeals court judge Edith Jones, who sits on the Fifth Circuit, and Janice Rogers Brown, who used to sit on the D.C. Circuit, though a source close to Brown tells CNN she is likely not interested. Laura Jarrett, CNN, Washington.
Much more to follow on that story. We'll continue to update you as more information becomes available.
And CBS This Morning, I'll pick it up at 7 o'clock.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, here's a little sneak peek of what's to come on Montana This Morning, as well as CBS This Morning.
A heated exchange between President Trump and a CNN reporter led to an unprecedented decision by the White House. I'm Tom Hansen, and I'll tell you the latest on the controversy.
Good morning. Ahead here on CBS This Morning, we're following breaking news of a mass shooting that killed at least 12 at a bar outside L.A. hosting College Country Night. We're at the scene with the latest. And pacemakers and insulin pumps inside your body may be vulnerable to hackers. 2 security experts show us how they gained control of the devices and how their research led the FDA to take action. We'll see you right at 7.